Hi everyone, we are coming to you straight from MACH House, which is taking place as part of NRF in New York. My name is Patrick Friday. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Vue Storefront, and I have my amazing guests with me, Dina from Contentful and Paweł from SAP. So I think, Dina, would be best if you can say a little bit about yourself, and then Paweł.
Absolutely. Dina Apostolo, Vice President of Marketing from Contentful. And Contentful, for those of you that don't know, is an intelligent content platform. And so we are all about helping to kind of unlock the possibilities of content to ensure that they show up across a customer journey for the experiences that you're serving with all your audiences. Not only that, but Contentful allows for you and your digital teams to adopt tools and be ready for the new audiences that you're trying to serve, not only today, but in the future.
And my name is Paweł Wiacek. I am Vice President and Global Head of Solution Engineering for Customer Experience in SAP. Around 18 years in the industry with mainly digital commerce and online experience. A bit more than 10 years in SAP, where my journey was starting as a solution engineer in Central Eastern Europe. And then I also actually spent 4 years also in this beautiful city, including 2 years as director of solution engineering. And now I'm leading that global team, which is tasked in keeping the global SAP customer experience expert community a well-oiled machine ready to help our customers to innovate.
Awesome. Thank you so much for great introductions, but I need to ask Paweł a question. As far as I know and as far as I am aware, it is a very first time that SAP is officially on the MACH records, as I like to call it. So what changed?
True. So that place is, and MACH Alliance also is about everything best in digital commerce technology. So certainly that's a good place for SAP to be, and the right place for SAP to be. Because to be more specific, SAP technology aids many of the biggest customers and biggest digital commerce installations across the globe. In last few years, digital commerce space have been subject to a big and rapid transformation and growth in introducing that agility and robustness that you guys bring to the table, solutions from MACH Alliance. And it had a huge impact also on our customers and the whole industry. For our customers, composability is all about maintaining this fine balance between agility and flexibility, how they engage their customers in the best possible ways, and how to create value for all the stakeholders. In SAP, we have always been pragmatic, less dogmatic about how to approach this. We call it clean core. So everything that is or also keeping the core clean. So everything that is just to give you an example, okay. Today in NRF, we're introducing SAP order management services. So a set of solutions that are helping our customers to better innovate in how they connect digital supply chain with demand chain. Mm-hmm. So innovating in the core helps our customers to think about, okay, how they can be more robust, more agile, also on the front end, how they can engage their customers more efficiently.
Okay, makes a lot of sense, and I think a lot has changed in my perception of SAP, especially last year. I think you guys opened up a lot and started to invite different partners to do what they are best at. So in our case, it's the front end and the whole orchestration. And for Contentful, it's the whole experience and how marketers can play around with this. So Dina, maybe if you could tell us like your perspective on how you see, SAP coming into the MACH space and working together with us. Like, what's your experience so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So as VP of Marketing and Brand Experience at Contentful, I do have partner marketing responsibilities. I also run the content marketing team. So it's great because I have the perspective as a leader within the marketing space and the content that you put into those experiences and the audiences that you're serving. When I wear my hat around go-to-market, I'm able to also be deeply involved in the partnerships and understand more about what are we doing to integrate our technologies together to be able to help serve different audiences. And so the partnership with being part of now the Composable Cloud for SAP has been really integral for being able to help serve the enterprises, right? It's about, as what you said, it's about helping to serve those marketing and merchandising teams, right? To ensure that there's a quicker speed to market for the audiences that you're serving from an end user perspective by having the technology come together and be more integrated at the core. So we are starting to see a lot of those customers get benefit and value out of that. One that comes to mind off the top of my head is as we think about Aldo. Aldo is a retail and accessory customer that we both serve. Also some other partners within the MACH Alliance as well. But with Aldo, they're serving many different markets, languages. They also have different brand lines as well beyond Aldo, and call it spring.com as well. And so they are trying to accommodate not only for a lot of products, a lot of brands, a lot of languages and markets that they're serving. And so to be able to leverage some of like the UI components in a very consistent way across those major brands allows them to have some consistency, right, at that global level. But the flexibility, from a brand level, and then the language adaptation for the audiences that they're serving. So that's a good example of where, us working together with SAP at the kind of commerce, side of things has really helped to strengthen that value exchange for our customers.
Yeah. And I had a good discussion with Pavel, but not only, many people at SAP. And especially last year, a lot of the customers were not that much focused on migrations because they were afraid of what the economy is gonna look like. So Pavel, what's your perspective and what you have seen, like the major objections from customers, like having a pushback from doing a full-on migration into the MACH ecosystem?
So here is our perspective. So we see a lot of customers have invested heavily into that digital core. They have, I would call it, they have a secret sauce in those, in the way they do, in the way they connect that supply chain with demand chain, in the way they do product sourcing, in the way they connect third parties to their ecosystem, in the way they do promotions and pricing. All of that is complex stuff to solve and requires a lot of investment. And then they realize replacing that is hard. Mm-hmm. It's and they think, okay, so where is the place where I can introduce a little bit more agility? What's the place where I can be better in engaging my customers, in bringing that few more gains in average order value, or bringing a little bit more into how sticky my website is for my customers, conversion rates growing. That's the daily battlefield they fight, and they think, okay, what's the best place to start modernization of that stack, but keep that secret sauce still viable and maybe something that is harder to replace, keep it for later.
Yeah, so it's basically doing this very nice marriage between the old legacy world and doing like this step-by-step approach instead of having like a big bang, how I like to call it, when we do all in, we migrate our backend, we change ERP, we bring in new CMS, new search, and new front end. So right now, as we've been looking into the customers, we try to bring this front-end first idea into their heads, which basically means you should start considering by changing and improving your customer experience, because that's essentially what's going to drive your revenue. So from the front-end first perspective, it's the front-end itself, but it also requires a CMS and the search. So what we are doing a lot right now, it's a lot of proof of concepts with customers to show them that it's actually not that scary, and you can build Contentful, Coveo, and Vue Storefront on top of SAP without having to spend too much money on writing the integrations. And this is also where they can build a much better business case for the stakeholders, because they are not going in there saying, hey, we need a couple millions of dollars and probably 1.5 years of changing everything. We can just improve our customer experience within like 6 months, and then we have a very good return on investment, right?
Yeah. Well, Patrick, I'm from SAP, and what's the most common and most valuable question, kind of sentence SAP consultant can give you? It's simple. It depends. It depends. That's the most valuable advice we always give. So yes, there is a lot of, there is a lot of value in how you organize your digital core and the core commerce processes, and then you think, okay, how I can serve the best and relevant content in the right channel in the right moment. What's my product discovery channel, product discovery strategy? Am I helping my customers to find the right products? Or am I serving those customers in the best possible way in every touch point through robust and prepared for those edge scenarios storefront? So those questions customers need to answer to themselves before deciding what's the scope of the project they're thinking about. So it's not about only, at times, it depends. Again, at times it does make sense to do the full migration. Just to give you an example, there is a lot of customers, SAP customers, that are still running on SAP Hybris, on-premise software. Yes, they probably will see a lot of value from migrating to the cloud, but maybe in a lot of cases, especially in the economy we're having now, that's not the first step they should take. Maybe the first step would be to modernize the way they distribute content across all those channels.
Yeah, and when we go on deals and when we pitch together with Contentful, what we very often tell the customers, look, going from on-prem to cloud in SAP might be quite a big piece, right? And maybe it's too scary, but if you go with Vue Storefront, you go with Contentful, a cloud-native solution, maybe you also add a cloud-native search to it, you have a try how it feels like, because you can go get those products on-prem, and then you can make a decision on, should we go from on-prem SAP to the cloud. And Dina, from the CMS perspective, very often that's a very big change for the teams that are working on the content with the current stack, for example, Smart Edit, right? So what would you say are the benefits for both business but also the IT teams? Because there is a significant tech difference and how you work with that, independency and so on. So what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, for sure. So when you think about digital channels that you are serving up experiences across a customer journey, you're thinking about the experiences you have today, as you said, of where you're intersecting with audiences, whether it's search, whether it's your mobile application, whether it's your website, whether it's social media. And so you need to plan for not only today, but the audiences you're trying to attract in the future, right? And so that's an important aspect in terms of understanding your tool set that you're using, because when you're thinking about serving up, ads, you're using maybe Google Ads, you're using Hootsuite or, Sprinkler for social media, you're using, MailChimp or Marketo for email marketing. You go down the list, right? You go down the list. And And so it's important, though, that you're looking at solutions that don't necessarily discredit the technology investment that you've made. And so from a business and an organizational standpoint, that's really important, right? You don't want to have this technical debt. And so from a developer perspective or a DevOps standpoint, you're thinking about what is the right tooling that allows you to have the frameworks, the APIs, the things that integrate so that you can have a real modern stack. On the other side, in terms of teams, we have seen this evolution that it is not just developers that are at this seat at the table, for making these experiences come to life. They play a very critical role. But you think about the designers, the content marketers, you're thinking about where, kind of the web team sits within the experience. And so everyone is really part of that digital team. The benefit with moving to that more modern tech stack approach, and where we've seen Contentful in terms of evolution with our own product line, is being able to serve those different audiences. That is allowing that the digital teams that are maybe less technical are able to get into the tool set with the appropriate guardrails and permissions and governance so that they can manage the publishing on their own, right? They can do those things that don't require them to go back to the development side of the house to, which are tedious tasks, right? So you're freeing up the developers to be able to build the next best experience, right? And you're letting those that are on the non-technical side be able to, modify price points, promotions, ads, add new imagery to the site or to whatever channel you're trying to serve up through the platform. And so that's the shift that we've seen, and that's really where we're starting to see a lot of benefit, is that it's no longer taking, weeks or days. You can do that in literally minutes, and that's real benefit there for an organization in terms of productivity.
Yeah. So it also very, visible when we do a demo or a proof of concept, and then we show it to the marketing teams, and they're like, oh my God, we can really do it all by ourselves without creating a task for our dev team. I can change the banner. We're like, is it really the world you are living in? Like right now, the change is there, and you can really be independent. And the same for developers, right? When developers don't get like thousands of tasks of like very simple things, because for them it is a simple thing. They just create components. The components are sitting inside the CMS, and then the marketing team can do whatever they want without asking for it. I think it's a huge advantage. And Pavel, I'm wondering, like, what's your perspective on that content management? Because of course there is a smart edit, and there are challenges that the customers are seeing with that. And then you also see the customers that decided to migrate to a different headless system. Like, what's the perception and how they feel after doing that change?
Well, we have no problem of our customers using what's best for them in specific cases. Let's take it. Let's take a example of a more B2B focused company, where they have really the most of the complexities lies in pricing, in very complex customer structure, which they need to handle in the commerce system. And very often the focusing on how they engage with the audiences is not the first priority for them. Later, they can realize that there is a lot of value in becoming more agile and becoming better with the way they serve content. And they say, well, probably we outgrew our ability to be faster with smart edit, and we need to look into something that is giving us more flexibility, and is just simply serving our needs better. And that's the beauty of that composability, where you take best of every piece and combine it to run your business in the best way. Secret sauce, which you have sort of coded in your SAP Commerce Cloud system, and tools to run your daily battle for increased order average value or increased conversion rates, which you need to right tools to fight. And very often it will be Contentful or Vue Storefront.
Yeah, I think it's totally makes sense, and I think also the perception of what composable is really about is changing, because I see a lot of people are understanding that it doesn't mean like that every single of your tech stack has to be coming from like this API first world, but you can build things around. And to your point, is about being able to pick the right tool, the tool that is the best for us as the company. And yeah,
just because here, just to give you an example, if you think like the best for your business would be to introduce, I don't know, subscription-based offering, you really need to focus on how you're connecting your ERP with your commerce platform. Is that connection robust? Is your S4 installation or any other ERP really well connected and really well integrated with your commerce platform? And no API will solve that challenge if on the front-end side. You really need to focus on your, so to say, back-end. And then only if you're able to expose those capabilities in commerce, then you can think about, okay, so what's the best way to use it to drive engagement and revenue? And then you think, yeah, I definitely need to invest in my ability to introduce more interesting content which is tailored to specific audiences, or I definitely need a little bit less labor intensive for developers means to introduce it to the front end,
Yeah, I totally agree. So maybe as we're gonna be wrapping up, let's come up with some advice for our listeners. So, Dina, what would you advise, considering that the last year economic environment wasn't that great? I think this year is gonna be a little bit better, but probably not a massive gap. So how would you advise them to navigate, especially if they're considering their next moves in e-commerce?
Yeah. So I think, the question I'd always ask is like, how many of us are like willing to buy a car without test driving it, or, a $3 million home without doing an inspection? And so I think that same thing you have to consider in terms of your technology investment. I'd say one of the smartest things that you can do as a business is to really go down the POC, right? So a proof of concept is the path forward that I would recommend, that allows you to really think about the requirements that you have. And it doesn't have to be a massive, proof of concept, but to be able to do something that's small, that, you're setting out what your objectives are. It's a real use case that your business would be trying to solve for, get it, proved out, work out the kinks. That's the best way, I would say, the advice that we see, customers taking. It doesn't mean that you need to wipe out everything that you have, but you can start somewhere and then you can build around it if it proves to be successful. So that's where I would go at this point.
Okay. And Pavel, how would you look at this, considering, or like from a point of view of a customer that is already using SAP, and maybe those that are using a custom build and they are trying to go on something that is more platform based?
Yes. Oh, it's a good question. So I would, that would be strong. Be pragmatic, not dogmatic, especially about transformational projects. Think carefully about the scope. What I mean here is maybe instead of thinking about migrating, think about enhancing. So always create a project that is aligned with your business goals, and then have always a backup of rationality in terms of what you want to achieve versus the scope of the effort, because it's really an investment each time, which needs to have a rationality in how you're gonna see return of those investments.
Yeah, so as to summarize, I totally agree with proof of concept, and it is the kind of test drive, and people then can see it's not as scary as they might think, considering you have to integrate so many tools together. It's a new role for them, but also to what you said, like I'm always telling the customers, build a proper business case. and see if it makes sense. How you're gonna present it to your stakeholders, how you can, calculate any sort of return on investment. So it's also kind of a POC, but from a business perspective, right? So yeah, I think it's very enlightening, especially seeing that SAP is opening up. We have a very good traction all together. The customers are also seeing that doing a full-on migration might not be the first best step, but they can try to enhance the current tech stack. So I want to thank you so much for being here. It was fantastic conversations. To everyone listening or watching, thank you for listening and tuning in. Stay with us, because I think this year is going to be even more exciting than the last one, and we're going to see more and more live customers that are actually making the decision to go with this approach. Thank you.
It's going to be a fantastic year. Thank you, Dina.
Yeah.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you both.